The subtitle of Philip Collins' new book is Speeches That Shape the World and Why We Need Them. For his main title, Collins, a columnist at The Times and professional speech writer for Tony Blair amongst others, chose "When they go low, we go high." Those inspiring words were spoken by Michelle Obama at last year's Democratic National Convention. As it turned out, America went low in Mrs. Obama's terms and elected Donald Trump as president rather than Hillary Clinton. The best perk of being a reporter is that you get a front-row seat to watch history. I was lucky enough to be in the auditorium that night, and the then First Lady's speech certainly was a spine-tingling moment because she defined many of the campaign issues, even if it didn't pay off for the Democrats. The audience needs to believe that the words being spoken are genuinely what the person saying them actually thinks. It's called authenticity. Adam Bolton. I've lived to hundreds of big speeches. Collins' book prompted me to ask myself which ones I really remember without conferring or looking things up. Top of my list is the dramatic denunciation of the militant tendency by the then Labour leader Neil Kinnock. And you end up in the grotesque chaos of a Labour council hiring taxis to scuttle around a city delivering redundancy notices to its own workers, he shouted scornfully at his own party conference in Bournemouth. Every word stung, and the left-wing Liverpool MP Eric Heffer shouldered me aside as he stomped out of the conference hall in protest. Image: Neil Kinnock was the best natural British orator. Kinnock could be a Welsh windbag. By his own admission, he blew his chance in the Commons to finish off Margaret Thatcher during the Westland affair. But he was the best natural British orator I've heard, more stirring in my experience than Enoch Powell, Michael Foot or William Hague. Collins chooses another Kinnock speech. Why am I the first Kinnock in 1,000 years to go to university? 24 hours to serve the NHS wasn't bad either. William Hague, Boris Johnson and the late Charles Chacho Kennedy had brains, but they amount to little more than comic turns. You vaguely remember the jokes but not much of their argument. Almost all the other political leaders really have to work at it hard with their script writing team. Thatcher and Michael Heseltine put in the effort to bring an audience to its feet. I was in the room for her rather Labour the lady is not for turning speech, but her most memorable words were spontaneous, including "no such thing as society, we are a grandmother," and "no, no, no." Image: Bill Clinton and Barack Obama are among the best orators of contemporary times. Paddy Ashdown was another leader who practiced in his bathroom mirror for the hated ordeal of his annual leader's speech. By force of will he became quite good at it, but the Liberal leader's speech that has really stuck with me, and I only saw it on TV, is David Steele's "Go back to your constituencies and prepare for government." He was only 28 years ahead of the formation of the coalition government. Sometimes you can see a leader heading towards disaster. Ian Duncan Smith's "The Quiet Man is Turning Up the Volume" was obviously cruising for a bruising. John Major laid it on too thick with his misquotation of George Orwell about old maids cycling to evensong in the Back to Basics backlash then scythed through the ranks of his erring ministers. Theresa May's nasty party speech will probably now be replaced in modern memory by her disastrous outing last week. My abiding memory of Gordon Brown's oratory was a passing civilian who just worked at the venue asking, "Why is that man shouting at me?" Image: Tony Blair's finest moments were in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, though things went off the rails subsequently. Tony Blair is often called an actor, and he and his team spent weeks making sure he had the right lines for the big day. They had their bad moments. Blair was slow hand-clapped by the Women's Institute. Sweat spoilt one shirt-sleeved outing. And Blair didn't really dare spell out that he proposed rewriting the hallowed Clause 4 of the Labour Party constitution. Spin doctors had to explain that that was what he meant afterwards. But precisely because his performances were so carefully planned and he was a performer, his speeches were often memorable. A new dawn has broken, has it not? Said it all about Labour's landslide victory in 1997. His finest moments were in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, though things went off the rails subsequently. The kaleidoscope has been shaken, captured the mood of apprehension. Years later, I have no reverse gear summed it up for those who wanted him out and those who wanted him to stay. For me, Barack Obama and Bill Clinton slug it out for best political speaker. But you don't always have to be a student of rhetoric. Sarah Palin's acceptance speech for the vice presidential nomination was an extraordinary and thrilling moment which left no doubt as to who she was or what she thought. When I spoke to Collins on All Out Politics, he said that a great speech depends on both the words and the speaker. They have to go together, and the audience needs to believe that the words being spoken are genuinely what the person saying them actually thinks. It's called authenticity. All the speeches I remember were authentic. They don't happen too often. Sky Views is a series of comment pieces by Sky News editors and correspondents, published every morning. Previously on Sky Views, Ian King. Jeremy Corbyn's "What If Our Could Be Costly?"